Welcome back, noble heroes. We return once again to Mythia, where our characters are within the house of Tarkan, Roland's household, where they sit at his kitchen table planning machinations and assassination. Currently, they have begun talks upon Kelrock and Jack, the pirate lords who currently reside in Giran. They seem to be gathering supplies for what looks to be a deep hold at the Isle of Bone. And Euphemia wishes vengeance. So, we return with the continuation of the conversation.
As a side note, while I was in the Godmother's headquarters, I told them about the deal with the messengers.
They were well aware of the deal with the messengers and are already deep in work on it.
Okay, good.
Euphemia would say, well, my thought is we need to lure them outside of the protection of Garen.
There's a chance we might get lucky if we play a little coy with it, Red says.
Oh.
So likely what Kelrock wanted you to do was run immediately to Rawl in person.
There's a reason I didn't do that.
He would have trails, probably either mercenaries or assassins follow you. Capture both you and Rawl, get the answers about the truth of it once he had both of you. Or use Rawl as a hostage once he found him. We could potentially still play that game. You go, we capture the trails, and either maybe possibly impersonate them or use them to get some kind of message back.
That doesn't seem to involve immediate carnage on the pirate lords.
Yeah, I was thinking by 6 p.m. or something.
I suppose I could wait that long.
What exactly are you hoping happens here?
I'm hoping that we break their might. Scatter them.
How are you wanting to do it, though?
Like tonight? Because that's not going to happen.
Why not?
Because he knows you. He literally tempted you to go do something stupid. You think he's just going to stick his neck out right now?
No.
If I know anything about the pirate lords, it's that they didn't get there by sticking their necks out anywhere. They got there by throwing hundreds of men at a problem and a lot of money. I wouldn't be surprised if we gave him the slip with my exceptional connections and Giran's help. But in all honesty, I would imagine that you'll be watched while you're in the city by pirates at the very least. I mean, it's pretty easy to blend into the population right now, and you're not particularly hard to spot.
I am very short, though.
So the challenge would be for Yuffie to make a spectacle of herself within the city, while the rest of us worked to bring it out.
I don't think I'd have a hard time making a spectacle of myself.
Please stick within the law. We don't particularly want the kings to hate you.
If I know Kelrock, and I think I have a pretty good idea of him,
Say so.
I think he throws this little plan out as red meat, Dom says. Hopes he gets a catch in the next day or so, and if he doesn't, he calls it quits and leaves. Costs him nothing, and potentially gets him you or me.
Right.
Is there a way to lay a trap for when he leaves?
So, Red says, cutting Dom off, I did notice that there was a particularly difficult circumstance with the boats, if we were going to try to do something with those. One of them is pulled by a dragon turtle, and one of them seems to be alive.
The boat is alive?
Yeah, it was like a big whole mess of shadowy darkness in the shape of a boat.
That's
Do I-
Kalrock's boat.
Do I have any knowledge of this, or am I gonna need to ask?
I would say you have a general knowledge. The Spectre is Kalrock's ship. A deeply disturbed, fated man once committed suicide upon its surface, and it was cursed with a sort of living nightmare darkness that eats the fears of its occupants and like rends people.
How do you safely stay on it?
Well, Kalrock figured out a way.
Was that the ship that you were on?
For 3 years.
Gotcha.
It's fun.
Sure it is. Do you mention that you were on that ship? Do we know this? I don't remember. if we knew that.
Euphemia hasn't said anything, but she would explain when Red mentions that ship, she would explain the specifics of it, and that she'd been on it.
How do you safely stay on it then?
I don't remember off game.
You have to have no fear.
Right.
So how did that work with all the other pirates? I don't believe they had no fear.
Well, if they do have fear, then they're put on one of their ships. The Spectre doesn't require a crew.
Ah, okay. So how many people are usually on it? Can't be very
Like
many.
5.
Okay. How the hell did you stay on it?
Yuffie's pretty much proven that she has no fear. Let's be honest.
Euphemia's got a lot of regrets and guilt. And I guess maybe some fears about like others, but she tends to be sort of reckless about herself.
You gave
Okay.
book to the Grim Reaper. Yeah, I don't think you're afraid of anything.
The Spectre is
Yeah.
like fear of like the actions you're about to take.
Okay, so they're talking about like immediate type fear. Okay, I was gonna say,
Like
I was
being
like,
a
I don't
coward.
believe that. There's no such thing as a person who has no fear. That doesn't work. I don't care how brazen, brass, or whatever you are.
I think
that's a
You have no fear of
unless
stepping
you're
onto this
fated that. I don't
shadow
believe
ship.
it.
Right.
But okay.
Or like you are not afraid to like stand in the fire and fight, essentially.
Okay,
Right.
I can accept
Yeah.
that.
Not fearless for everything.
Yeah, that's where I was like, I'm like, unless you have some sort of a weird condition, you're a psychopath, or
I mean, there are
Oh,
definitely
well.
people who are psychopaths who are on that ship.
oh, I believe that 100%. But yeah, okay, I can accept that. Thank you.
Seems like a pretty well-defended fleet altogether.
What if they're
Also,
cause to be feared whilst on deck? June actually does interrupt and ask this question.
I imagine it would be chaos.
I assume there's probably wards against spells for it.
You can't cast spells in the city anyway.
Well, I'm not talking about in the city, I'm talking about on the sea.
You mean the river?
Does he only sail this thing on the river?
That's the only route out. There's only a river into Giran.
Yes, I'm... Okay.
You're thinking farther away.
She's thinking hypothetically, what happens if somebody casts fear at these people while they're on the ship?
Oh, I gotcha. Okay.
Are there wards against that? Is that a thing?
Have there? I don't think we've ever come across that in backstory.
So the ship and Kalrock do have something of a deal worked out, but they would probably cause a lot of chaos.
Is it like a sentient ship?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, that changes my thought process. All right, cool. What if you fear the ship? Does it eat itself?
You don't know.
Only one way to find out.
Let's do it.
I really could try. But she does ask that question as well.
It's never been tried.
It's probably one of the first things I'd do.
But
I'm
it's
sure it's warded.
You do have a unique mind, Juniper. Dom says, thinking about it.
She shrugs.
I can't imagine the sort of thing to scare the Spectre. Maybe the Sea Banshee.
Can it's a sentient creature, so could its mind be read?
Does it have a mind?
I think it's more like a
Will.
evilly darkness.
Put it this way, Euphemia didn't steal anything out of it for a reason.
She just gives you a droll look when you say that.
Did you try? Bolly says.
She takes a sip of her water.
God, I can't believe it.
I do. She looks at Bolly.
Stop believing it. You're helping her.
Considering what she did already.
Yes, well.
Yeah, you are pretty... I guess you were made for the Spectre.
Well, there's a lot in common between fearlessness and carelessness. Anyway, so...
Got any evilly, darky magics that might help us out?
Could you take control of his ship?
It's living, though.
Wait, a ship.
A ship.
And also, do you have any evilly, darky magics that might help us out?
I'd have to get closer to the ship to see what I could do to it.
Are dragon turtles sentient? I can't remember.
Semi.
Okay, checking. Thank you.
How is something semi-sentient? Because it's an animal? Like it just
Like-
acts on instinct?
They can be sentient.
But not all of them are?
So, possibly sentient.
Yes.
Okay.
Is that Jack's ship out of game?
No.
I can't
That's
remember.
the armored knave.
That's right. Thank you.
It's the one that chased you here.
Yep. I remember this now.
She is going to ask, so whose ship is the... What was it called? The dragon turtle ship.
It's the armored knave. It's
Files that information away in her
It's
brain.
one of Kelrock's
one of
lieutenants.
Kelrock's. Yeah. Does she know the name of the lieutenant whose ship is?
Yes, you do.
She'd say it. Yeah. It's one of Kelrock's fleet.
I'm assuming that is not one of the ones that's outside of the chain. Or is it?
No, it's not.
I had a feeling. I doubt any of his important ones are outside.
Doesn't seem likely. They didn't look particularly important. I mean, as much as a ship can look unimportant. Looks like they're fully staffed. Probably 24 per ship. At least 12 ships. Probably looking at about 300 men.
So if we can't do utter destruction, which, fair, we can cause a little chaos, right?
Yeah, that's why I asked about that evilly darkness magic.
What have you got for us, Isaac? You usually have something good.
Oh, God.
I can't say I've ever taken on pirates. It's hard to say without knowing more about what we're up against. They are ships. I could do something with them, but we'd have to get close. We'd have to get me close. Furthermore, we're planning on doing this after they're already out at sea, right?
On the river, I believe.
Or at least on the
out of
river.
the bounds of the city.
We'd have to get them out of the city and then board their vessel. And then I could probably do anything.
Look, honestly, this could be as easy as get you on Shadow, have you kill him in sleep. But Shadow isn't here right now.
I know. I could have made a lot of use of the shadows.
Shadow's gifts are very useful.
How deep is that river?
It's pretty deep.
Okay. I'm trying to
for
think of like
ships?
planting something under the water that we could use to like what's the spine of the ship called that like runs along the center bottom of it?
The bow? No.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
I'm trying to think of like putting my pulverizer under the water, and as the ship sails by I just like crack the ship open. That at least makes them stop because they have a leak.
We could lift a chain there.
What do you mean lift a chain?
Well, the same principle that the harbor is protected by. Just put
So-
an illicit one there.
We
Raise
could.
it when they come by. They wouldn't know it was there. You could bottom out the boats.
I mean, there's only one way out of the city, so it would be easy to set some sort of trap.
Assuming we don't.
Technically, there are two.
Oh,
What's the other one? I'm
By
not thinking.
waterway?
Two ends of the river.
river goes through Girin.
I'm going to dissuade us from using Garen's infrastructure to attack them.
No, she's not saying Girin. She's saying outside in the river, add another chain.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, no, she's saying do a completely new one and just stick it out there.
Okay.
And then it would have nothing to do with Girin and typical warfare.
Well, without the mechanism, how are you going to raise the chain?
Magic?
Gotcha.
She just looks at him like he's dumb.
You can lift a chain that large? Something that can bottom out a boat?
If the spells are set up correctly, there are many rituals that could do things. If all else fails, I could wish it into existence, although I would prefer not to.
Alright, so what plan would cause the least amount of damage to anything related
Also,
to
he
Garen?
could do it.
He
Very
could.
easily. Just saying.
This is a very head-on approach.
Yes.
If we trap the ship,
She's trying to think of ways that would satisfy her bloodlust, even though June doesn't particularly like the head-on approach.
we trap the ship, they start panicking. They lay anchor, they stop, we board, and then who knows what happens.
You're right.
But that would give us a way in.
Aren't you looking at about 16 ships worth of cannons?
Yep. Alright. I'm aware of the fact that I would love to kill most everyone on those ships. But that might not...
What about those people you spoke of who had no choice?
Yes. I couldn't pick them out while we were fighting, so... they could get caught in the crossfire. Do you have a quieter suggestion?
I actually rather liked Red's first suggestion. Infiltration.
Oh,
Shut up, Red. It's one of the few times I'll agree with you.
the first of many.
I'd at least like you all to infiltrate and confirm which boat they're on. I'd hate to put all this together and get one of their vessels isolated and then figure out it's not even the right one.
If he's
Agreed.
not a dummy, which I suggest that he's not, he's going to be on the Spectre.
He's almost always on the Spectre. And that you can't get control of.
It's also possible that Shadow couldn't enter the Spectre. Might be darkness itself.
So infiltration.
I was just suggesting it as a lead. We might have the information that those assassins or followers have. There might be a way to use that, but we can't know until we find them out.
What would be very helpful is if we know his next stop.
Yes.
It's the Isle of Bone, surely. With this many days of supplies built up, Dom says. He's headed back to hunker down on the Isle of Bone.
Did Roland send a summons?
He did.
Not Roland. God damn it.
Dom says
You know
that Ronan sent a
Ronan.
summons.
I knew this was going to happen eventually. He did send one?
Mm-hmm.
Sounds a little counterproductive, honestly. She does say that. She goes, why did you send a summons?
The Isle, it seems, is about to be attacked by merfolk.
They've grown more aggressive. Remember we heard about that and
She nods. Well, that would be a great way to winnow their forces away.
it is.
On both sides.
As long as Ronan stays out of it.
What's
All
that
right.
likelihood?
Small. I would like just more information then. You think they'll follow me? She says to Red. If I make a spectacle or leave the city?
I do, he says.
Especially if you leave with purpose. Clearly she's saying showing a purpose.
I think I could do that.
Are we expecting someone?
Not that I'm aware of.
Perhaps the actual owners of this home were.
Christine! Fred says, somebody's knocking at your door. You're going to see Roland's mother comes. We're not expecting anyone, she says, and she's going to open the door. The door is blocking sight of the person, but you will hear a familiar voice, Euphemia. Is Euphemia here? Sure. Come on in, she says. A woman, short, is going to enter.
Like halfling short or...
Dwarf.
Okay.
And Freya is going to throw her hood back. Ronan's wife. She's going to immediately come over and throw her arms wide for an embrace of Euphemia.
Euphemia will stand, drop the glass of water she had in her hand, and immediately move to embrace Freya. How? Why? Freya?
Yes, dear. It's me.
Then
She
Euphemia
says.
will sit back a little bit. Is it bad?
It's not good. Hello. My name is Freya, she says. How much do your friends know?
As of now, almost everything.
Good then.
June totally latched on to the almost part.
If you don't mind, might I join your meeting?
Gestures at the empty seat that's over by the wall.
What are you doing here? Dom says.
How
What is
did you
happening
get
with
here?
Ronan?
How well known is it that she's his wife?
Pretty
Like,
unknown. I would
okay,
say
so-
that only you of the party would probably have that information privy to you.
June is pretending like she has no idea.
Okay. She's going to sit and sort of like feel the table a little bit. Well, I heard about your interaction in the market with Kelrock and Jack, and I'll admit that I got a bit worried that you were planning some sort of daring action against them.
Euphemia is going to look like she has no idea what she's talking about.
He is lying, dear. He hasn't done anything to Rawl. We've made sure that he doesn't have any idea where he is.
I also confirmed that.
She's going
I
to...
didn't just
Does
run
her
to
blood
him.
drain from her face?
She goes, good, I'm glad you remembered your lessons.
A little bit.
She goes, I am not here by anybody's wishes. In fact, I am quite here against many people's wishes. But I felt it very important to come and give you a message. For one, that please don't attack Kelrock or Jack right now. She says, it is certainly not the time. The truth is,
I want to kill them so badly. Why can't we just kill them?
I'm going to assume you
That's
is actually whispering that in-game right there. By the way, June is 100% covering her mouth because she can't stop smiling at this.
You get very much the distinct impression that there is a bit of a mother-daughter dynamic
That's
between them.
what she's amused at.
Yeah.
in truth, she says, looking at Dom, I am here to negotiate the last of our supply lines with Garen in order to hunker down for the summer.
What's going on with the merfolk there?
My dear, it is an all-out assault. We have seen what appears to be over 2,000 sea serpents gathering on the northern of Zatlout. We think a force that we have not heard of in our lifetimes or the ones prior plans to descend down on the Isle of Bone.
I heard of one. This
The
is
only
fairly
larger you've heard of 2,000 serpents was during the dawn.
Been a long ass time. Okay.
During the what?
The beginning.
She says, "It seems as though the Empress is intent on wiping the Isle from the earth, from Mythia altogether," she says. "Unfortunately, that means that at the current moment, in order to weather the storm, we are going to need everyone and all of their fleets."
And do you and Ronan have a contingency plan if the island is taken?
It is difficult to have a contingency for your entire life's work to be destroyed. She says,
Wasn't that
"I
the plan?
suppose that you are the contingency, dear." But there is a problem. One of the pirate lords does not respond.
Which one?
Osiah.
I thought that might be the case.
He says he is held up in his tower of Rogueshaven, just off the coast of the Halfling Hills. He has not responded, and our current fear is that he plans to not join us. If that is the case, then he is committing treason.
Euphemia will look at Bali. Did we hear back from Finnish any time recently?
"I did," she says. She says she seemed fine. Didn't really note anything wrong, but she's out, away at the flotilla. So, in as quick and concise terms as possible, Freya is going to convey that Osier has not responded to calls to aid from the Isle of Bone, and apparently he has sent out secret messages with many of his pirate wizards to make his fleet ready to engage other ships. It is thought that he might consider ambushing the ships returning back home to the Isle of Bone, which normally would be great.
Normally.
But at the current moment, they really do need to get those ships back in time. And they don't have any other lords out that are capable of dealing with the issue.
So you mean for now we bargain with them?
I have been sent to deal with Osiah, she says. But this will all be for naught if suddenly they find themselves dead and there's a squabble over whose fleet belongs to who.
All right. I get it. No stabbing today.
She nods. I know that this is frustrating and quite the opposite of what we would have hoped. If it was not so very dire, I assure you that this would be the perfect opportunity to do just what you are hoping to do.
I'm sure the merfolk will significantly reduce the numbers of those who we wish reduced. But I don't like the idea of you all being in the thick of it, with no way out. Except maybe me.
She's going to reach a strong hand over and squeeze your arm. Dear, we are always in the thick of it, and very rarely do we have a way out. Introduce me to your friends.
Euphemia turns. She introduces them each.
All right.
How do you introduce her? That's what I want to know first.
How do I introduce Freya?
Freya. You just said this is Freya.
Yeah,
and then
so
you
she would
left it
say,
alone.
This is Freya. She's Ronan's wife and a wonderful person.
Freya is the kind of lucky person who, despite her advanced age, barely appears it. She looks as stunningly beautiful as a very young, model-esque dwarf. She is wearing fairly heavy furs and a fashionable cape. She has on traveling boots.
Why would she wear heavy furs? Is she crazy? It's hot. It's June.
That's what she has on.
Oh, weirdo.
This is the outfit.
You and your stupid coats, woman.
And Freya is well known for her hat accessories.
She mentored me for many years on the Isle of Bone, and her wisdom's welcome here.
Dom is going to sort of grab onto her shoulder. She's a good woman, Dom says.
A pleasure to meet you.
You must be the godmother.
Yes, Jennifer. At your service.
She says, well, we've not dealt much with your kind, but perhaps sometime in the future, she says.
June just smiles quietly.
Totally dealt with it at some point.
I don't know what you're talking about.
She introduces everybody in the group.
Isaac the Crow, she says.
So you've heard of me?
Only your involvement during the Civil War in Selmhouse.
Yes. Ancient history to some. I still believe that city has more problems than anyone can solve.
Well, might be quite wise as well then, she says. As that was my big delivery, she says, perhaps we might find some time soon to speak together in private, she says.
Euphemia looks eager. Do you have time now?
She says, aren't you in the middle of a meeting, dear?
Well,
Sorry, she's not laughing. Well, actually, yeah, she kind of...
Euphemia looks kind of chagrined and acknowledges the point of the meeting had been how best to attack the pirate lords and destroy them.
June stops hiding her amusement.
I suppose the meeting is a bit over.
Well, who could have possibly guessed? She says, she's going to stand up, and then she's going to stop and sort of put her hand back down on the table and say, is this a common occurrence among your group?
What?
The consideration of assassins, of high noble lords of state?
She goes, it entirely depends on the circumstances.
You do have nice friends, she says. Well, if we do wish to speak, then we must do so quickly. I don't want to be discovered here.
Euphemia turns. Well, have a good day. And she gets up and grabs Freya and asks, is it Christine?
No.
What's her name?
Christina.
Christina. Do you have a room where we could speak?
You can use Roland's room, she says. As you head in, you find, like, what would look like an early 20s boys' room.
Oh, God.
Please tell me his mom takes care of the sheets.
Yeah,
Oh,
there's
God.
there's a small smell,
Oh, God.
but it's not bad. You think it might be Shadow.
Don't
Blame
blame the dragon.
You know it's not Shadow. It's totally Roland.
She's probably very clean.
Mm-hmm. She's probably quite fastidious.
I didn't wish to broach the topic downstairs with your friends, but I could use some help with Osiah if you have the time.
Time. I think we make the time for what has to be done, right? It's all about priorities. What do you need?
While I can use diplomatic channels to try to get a hold of Osiah and sway his opinions, my notes are being ignored. I don't have a good access to powerful friends at the moment. All of them are preparing back at the Isle of Bone to do some damage to merfolk, she says. I need somebody to go in and get a hold of Osier and tell him to his ear that he is needed.
You're coming to me for diplomacy? She asks.
If he won't, then kill him so that they can claim his fleets.
Any, joking expression on her face melts away. You want me to kill Finish's dad?
If Finish has not part of the plan, I will be deeply surprised.
Fuck.
But Finish has been away at the flotilla for almost 5 years now. I imagine that she would know, at the very least, but whether she is involved actively, who can say?
Osier has always been different from the other pirate lords. Is there nothing that you think could bring him under sway? What future do you think he envisions for all of us? He's always been a long-thinking type.
That is likely the most difficult question to answer. As like you say, he is very different from the rest. I thought I knew the answer, but it didn't involve him ignoring the call, not in such a dire circumstance.
She leans back. Do you think he would support the destruction of all of this?
Ronan never thought the likelihood so high that he told him.
I can certainly find a way in, but I'll need to bring someone with me who's better at talking.
Well, Osier is not particularly a wordsmith himself, to be honest with you. Much more of a man of intellect than anything else. All you need is to have logic and reason.
She gives her a look, sort of like, have you met me?
Well, take some from someone then, dear.
I can follow logic and reason fine until it's something here. You know that.
I think that is what you are best at.
You know I can't turn down a request from you.
Well, one can always hope, she says.
Besides, I have powerful friends now, too.
Just remember, friends, not crew.
She looks appropriately chagrined.
I love you, dear, she says. She's going to reach forward and give you a kiss on the forehead. She says, any help you can provide with Osier. But if you are unable to, I'll do my best.
She says, do you need to give me any kind of a note to smuggle in?
Here, she says, I pre-wrote it. She hands you a note. She says, the Rogue's Haven is off limits to messengers. Unfortunately, one of them was killed in a magical accident many, many years ago. It's been a pain in my ass since.
So we don't even know if these are getting to him.
It's possible that they're not, but if so, then there's a traitor on the inside anyway.
She folds up the note. I'll get it in.
She nods.
She smiles a little bit. It's so good to see you.
She says, I know. I feel the same. She says. She looks out the window. I'm sure Calrock has tails on you, so I best get out of here before they find their way.
She hugs her again tightly. I wish she didn't have to leave.
Me as well.
And the old man, he's...
Fit as a fiddle. We're counting on you, dear, she says.
I know.
But we understand. There's a new path afoot. Do your best.
You know I can't. No matter what path is in front of me, I can't take a path that leaves you behind. You know that, right? So you best look after yourself and the old man. Because the moment you're in danger, you know I'll come.
She smiles, nods, and then swiftly exits the room. It was so nice to meet all of you, she says as she's downstairs. Take care of her. She's going to leave. She seemed a nice one, Master, Prongor says.
That she did.
Says,
Ryan's a lucky man.
I think a woman like her and a man like me.
Very frozen look on June's face at that thought, and turns away.
A woman like her. Maybe one day after all this is said and done.
She didn't say that.
So, you were pretty gung-ho to go kill them, Red says, his voice a little accusing.
I have to support my allies, don't I?
You're also supposed to bonk them on the head when they do dumb stuff sometimes.
Well, I was attempting to rein in the chaos.
Pretty lax job, if you ask me, Godmother.
She smiles. The most important thing is to find all the options first before settling on one.
Just like a godmother, he says.
Well, I am a godmother.
Make everything into a bureaucratic meeting.
She shrugs. Yet, we seem to get things done.
He says, I know, it's like you have some angel here watching over you, wearing a mask, getting all the stuff done behind the scenes.
She just looks at him and blinks.
She may be unwilling to admit it, but Euphemia did say that part of this was personal for her. For me, that's enough.
Yeah, that's what worries me.
So when are you planning to visit your family, Hero?
Well, they're getting together tomorrow.
In the
But-
city, or...?
Yeah, my aunt's house. My aunt's house, he says. I mean, if I'm able to.
I don't see any reason why not.
Do you think Roland will be back tonight?
I don't know. I have not had any updates yet. She glances around the group, particularly at Red, considering it's his group. Have you heard
Probably.
anything?
But no knowing. Doomridge is pretty tough.
Indeed.
I mean, not as tough as it was when we were there, but it's still pretty tough.
Actually, he's right. Don't shake your head. It's totally right.
I don't even think she's down here. Isn't she still up in the room?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
This is just Jamie shaking her head.
Oh, I thought Freya had already come down.
Yeah, she like rushed down. Yeah.
Okay,
Doing a little
well,
side conversation.
Oh, okay. So this is like during their time. Okay.
Oh,
She nods and goes, "That's fair, actually." She pauses and she thinks, "Oh shit! Did anybody? We never sent to us the dragon, not the dragon, the giant.
Osire?
Yeah. Did we ever hear from him?
Nope, he's still hanging
Not
out at
Osire.
the...
Orega?
Orega, that's it.
Orega.
Yes.
I was getting confused.
Yes.
She immediately pulls out some paper as she remembered something and goes, "Oh my goodness, I couldn't believe I didn't think about this." And she immediately jots down a note that actually she casts a spell at it. It's a gigantic piece of paper, and then she casts shrink on that. It'll only last like a minute or so, and then calls the bunny and gives it to her, and then when it arrives there, it enlarges so that he can read it.
Okay.
She wants to make sure he is okay. It tells him what happened and says that we still have every intention of coming back to deal with the giants.
Okay.
But we have a few things that are holding us up at the moment, considering. She also mentions that Roland is in the Doom Ridge with allies at the moment, and there is more darkness there. Probably the same colony.
Okay. All right. And you return from upstairs.
She'd walk down and look at the assembled people and look a little embarrassed that she called them all here for something that was called off.
Wasn't going to say anything.
Do we have any other business that needs to be taken care of while we're here? Minus Roland.
Well, I just sent a note to Orega, considering we had teleported away from him and didn't tell him where we went. So hopefully we'll hear back from him at some point.
June, since I have you here. Juniper. He doesn't say June.
Too far.
Do you know of any place within the city that there used to be sap briars growing?
Where is it? I would totally know this.
Roll an advantaged history check, please.
I can't ask my staff because I've already used my 3 questions for the day.
Bless me.
Okay, you have bless and guidance.
Thank you.
Nice.
Why would you get into this bag? It doesn't have what you want in it.
Bless doesn't give bonus to skills.
Just guidance?
Whatever, that's
Yeah.
the one I meant.
Guidance, yep, you have guidance.
Why do I have 50 D12s in here?
It's like the one die that is used
It's
the
like
least.
never used.
Unless you use a very specific weapon.
Is that it?
24.
I don't think I ever used it.
Nice roll.
Sap briars used
Not
to
really, it's pretty
grow
trash.
in the resting lands outside of the city in the graveyard.
Ha! Perfect.
In the boneyard?
The graveyard.
The resting lands is what it's called.
Let's see. I believe they were originally found in the boneyard. You would probably give her a blank look, and then she goes, yes, they changed that. The resting land.
Is that outside the city?
It is.
How far?
Less than a day. Just a few hours.
What did you wind up rolling?
24.
So the last sapbriar grove took up about an acre of land where now lay the grave of Tolgrath the White. But they all died of some kind of sickness one year.
Okay. She goes, so how far out, like how long would it take him to get there from here? I mean, he would have to travel the whole city, so the kingdom.
Like 4 hours by coach.
Oh, that's not too bad.
Really? Should take like a day or two to get through the kingdom. Does it?
No, the kingdom isn't that big.
Yes, it is. If you look at its size comparable to travel distance,
Right, but you're in Old Town, which is on the bottom eastern side of the city, and you need to get that's in the
so if
direction
we're relatively
of.
close to the wall, that's fine.
Is it the graveyard that's just outside the wall? To the
Yes,
south of it?
right. That actually like covers like the whole eastern side of the city. Resting Land has like 1 million gravestones in it.
Can you think of anywhere closer? Perhaps inside the city, or is that the closest you can think of?
Are there any?
Well, the Resting Lands used to be inside the city walls until it
She
wasn't.
would phrase, and she goes, originally, the boneyards were included in the city. They were part of it.
Would that have been the case during the Age of Magic?
It would
Yes.
have, yes.
I believe they exited, what was it, maybe 20,000 years ago?
I see.
20,345.
That would make sense. Thank you. Your memory is invaluable.
It was the resting place of Tolgrath the White,
I see.
so you should be able to find it fairly easily.
It was the steward before Harper came around. He's got a big gravestone. huge statue with his face on it. You can't
She-
miss it.
Snaps, and an image of it appears.
Wow, you guys are making this too easy for me. All right, Isaac's gonna like internalize all that.
She does look at you curiously, but
Probably
If you
all
don't
of us are
say.
looking at you curiously.
It's not like I was like, hey, June, where's the biggest graveyard nearby? I have some stuff to do.
You can't raise dead in the Resting Lands anyway. There's an enchantment over the entire graveyard.
Okay. It's not fated, it's an enchantment, like put there.
No, it is a fated land.
Okay. Well, if we have nothing else to discuss, Euphemia, when did you plan on going? And wait, no, you haven't told
Yeah, we
us
have no
anything.
idea.
That's
Haven't
okay.
said
Yep.
anything yet.
Isaac's gonna like push his chair back and say, Prongor, let's
How long do we have here to ourselves, do you think? We've not decided exactly on our next course yet.
well, we can't stay too long, considering we still have the issues of the giants.
Yes. And several other strange instances that the kings had mentioned.
However, it is nice to know there's a teleportation portal in the wastes, so at least we can teleport directly there.
Well, regarding that, I've been taking stock of our resources, and I think that we may be able to send others in our place to take care of what's going on in the Sky Range.
What are your thoughts?
I was thinking Harper's crew would be able to take care of it handily.
They are already there.
Should you send a messenger?
However, we would need Roland back fairly soon.
They are in the Doom Ridge. I think after... What's Roland's girlfriend's name?
Leslie?
After Leslie is recovered, I don't think he'd have any qualms with coming back and rejoining us, but Harper, Faley, and everyone else, I think they could take care of it in our place and we could focus on other things.
She glances over at Red. Harper has never been a person I could order around, so she looks at him. Do you think he would agree?
Well, if what I'm getting my ears right, maybe you should just ask him yourself. He says. He's going to look over, and you're going to see a large, burly man figure over, kind of stride across the windowsill.
Are they back, I guess?
It would seem so.
The door is going to open, and a mailed figure, a huge man. He probably is almost 6'5". He is gray and grizzled. The very last tinges of red in his hair from his youth. He has a long white beard and pretty thick eyebrows. Heavy set face, kind of grim in its natural set. He looks around the kitchen. Red, this is your doing, isn't it? He says, looking down.
100%.
Guilty, he says.
She looks a little grateful that you chimed in and said that.
God damn
She
it.
knows it wasn't your idea.
He says, damn it, Red, stop using Christina's hospitality like this. He says. He's going to go over and... So you're Roland's friends. I heard a lot about you on the journey.
Are they okay? He and his girlfriend?
Leslie's all right. She's recovering. There were some creatures of chaos and darkness. Bigger news. We found Pitt with her. We brought him back.
She's waiting for him to continue.
He looks horrified.
Isaac's not speaking up. He's letting... It's not
Just
gonna interrupt.
face full on white now.
Everyone's thinking like you've apprehended Pitt.
And brought him here.
Well, he was horribly injured.
That is true.
He was injured and unconscious, and his body was stolen from me by Nightmare.
Yeah.
When I tried to bring him back myself, so...
Yeah, but we trust your means.
Red is going to look over suddenly in a meaningful way to Harper. Yeah, it wasn't my choice. He says, I know. Then whose was it? It was Roland's. He says. Apparently, Pitt saved Leslie.
Why?
I'm here to bring you to ask that very question.
You want to bring us to Pit?
With your all's powers, I figure an interrogation should be easy.
Was it actually Pitt?
It's the real boy.
Piercy.
I didn't know his real name, but the other one is retreated for the time being.
Really?
Seems pretty broken up about it, to be honest.
What happened to the nightmare?
Injured during the fight.
Where's Leslie?
Recovering.
Where's Pit?
She's asking where.
The Citadel.
Where's Pit?
The dungeons. Paladin Order.
She looks at the rest of the party.
June writes a quick note to Rafe saying Leslie was injured in the Doom Ridge and gives a brief overall and tells him she's in the Citadel. And she calls the messenger. Take that to Zarafin.
Yes, I will, she says. She's going to... So, you ready? Let's go. She gets up and heads outside. Wagon is going to pull up.
A wagon?
It's like
go on a wagon? I'm picturing a hay wagon right now.
it's like a rough coach. Yeah.
Oh man, we should go on a hayride. All of us just sitting there, you know.
It is drawn by a raccoon bear.
That is my favorite animal combo you have come up with.
That is a pretty awesome one. Although I would prefer a box bear, but that's just me.
So it is a fat little guy. He's probably about the size of a hippopotamus. And it's going to come up and it's real fat. It's going to kind of stand up and rub its hands together.
Oh my god. I saw this exact creature in a manhwa I was reading the other day. Except for when it opened its mouth, it was filled with human skeletons. But that's besides the point.
I mean, this
It
one
looked
could be
just
too.
like a raccoon
That
bear.
sounds like a manhwa.
So it has like little handles that it like pushes on as it walks. That's how it drags the cart. He's going to give it a pat, call it Russ, and then get in the wagon.
Before they leave, Euphemia would like to go back to the mom and the injured sister, the ill sister. What's her name?
Allison.
Allison.
Yes.
She would tell them, think on what I asked.
That was going to be my ask of you, was to give us some time. And some consultation with a few other people.
Euphemia looks like she wants to be offended, but is not. Just let me know. I'm happy to help if I can.
You don't have to tell me this, but I was hoping to take the exact wording of your fate to one of the soothsayers so that I can ask them if there might be some side effects.
She'll tell her. She owes it to her.
Do you have inspiration?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Don't thank me yet.
Even the offer.
I'm glad to help. She puts a hand on Alice's hand, and then she leaves.
You are walking down a steely hall. It is a dungeon. Barred cages, manacles. You hear a distant yell, maybe of pain, maybe of a insane mind. You're not sure. Down at the very far point in the hallway, there is a singular slumped figure in black robes. looking significantly less fearsome than you remember. Eyes brown. Skin also. He looks disheveled, roughly handled. He is chained, sitting, arms and legs held behind him to the wall. Harper has a light shining from the palm of his hand with his paladin abilities. He's going to nod inwards towards Pitt. As you look, Pitt's head is going to turn almost instinctively away from the light. He's going to show him to you for a moment, and then you all back up into a soundproof chamber. He hasn't spoken so much as a word yet. Roland tells me you have some abilities.
He's about the last person I'd want to use anything like that on, but yes.
I'm just checking. Are all of us there?
Mhm.
Okay. Sorry.
Is there a way to protect us from his convenient mind takeover in case he decides to switch personalities?
He says, from my understanding, the thought behind his ability to take over minds was tied with Zarakon, who it seems has left him for the time being injured by Satan during the fight.
All right.
We've taken away his implements and all of his items. He shouldn't be able to cast a spell.
Has he spoken at all?
No. Roland will be here within the hour, he says.
How did he help Leslie?
Apparently, she was trapped by the creatures of darkness we encountered when we came in from the portal. Pitt appeared and teleported her out of the temple. The two ran together. He said that she was one of the proletariat.
Say that again.
Proletariat.
Okay. Sorry, I couldn't hear you.
And he was Piercy this whole time, not the other.
No. During her visage with him, he did appear as Pitt. They got into a fight, though. More creatures of darkness. She used her powers. Light. Radiance, specifically. Concentrated light of heaven. It burned him. Drove the Pitt personality away. He said it almost killed him.
She kind of tugs on her gloves a little bit. What all do you need me to find out?
We need to know if this is intentional. If he's here because he wants to be.
If this is part of the plan?
Right. We can't have another bridge walk. We have some pretty thick restrictions as far as quarantine. You all will be scanned over with holy light when we head out of here, he says, to rid yourselves of any diseases he might have put on you to infect the population. All the paladins within the building are immune to disease, so we shouldn't worry about it too much.
All right.
He says, so, you all fought him? Any thoughts? I asked Roland. He had some choice words on the matter.
I'm sure he did.
He looks for answers.
Out of game. Yuffie was the only one who saw him talking to Piercy, right?
Who saw there was a second personality in there.
Yes, you were the only one who saw that, right?
Correct.
Okay. I
Are you
thought
the only one who knows that?
no,
No.
he told us all, which I asked about.
This is something she did not keep a secret.
Yes,
Yes.
good job. That was important.
It was very important.
Okay.
And then you knew some of the history related
Yeah, she
to...
knows his actual history. She will inform Harper of Piercy's past.
Aragotha.
Nothing good comes from there.
She looks at you and kind of raises an eyebrow at that.
You can mean it.
I don't know. She's talking about you, though.
I know. You
And
can
your
mean it.
sister.
That's the only exception.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember much of the fight against him. He had my mind. I don't think I'll be that much help in that regard.
It's not one of those circumstances where you gain some insight into them when they take control of you, is it?
Out of game, thinking back a minute.
It was not.
No, just my body moving on its own and getting diced up in the process. The only time I saw anything with him was what I described to you all.
Any insight into the situation, Godmother?
Not yet.
How about you?
Is he asking you about Bridgewalk?
Pit.
Fighting pit, I guess.
Just asking about Pitt in general?
Shh. Hang on, I have to have one thing real quick. What does June think is the likelihood that Roland told them about his issues with the other and Dolinar?
Very slim. Even if he intended to, the likelihood that he remembered to.
I feel really bad about telling anything about a character who's not there, but I think this is actually 100% important right now.
It's important to Harper.
Yeah. She
You could tell Harper, hey, you need to talk to Roland about this.
kind of where I was going with that. She goes, "Has Roland spoken to you about the other?"
Yes.
I'm assuming you know about him clearly, but I'm talking about recently.
You mean the new split?
Not necessarily just about Dolinar.
She has a name?
Yes. Perhaps you should ask Roland for the specifics, but considering they have a similar bound quality, it is possible that this might have something to do with fate as well.
I'll keep it in mind.
Unfortunately, I know very little about Piercy's personality outside of what I learned from his teachers, but
Despite what Leslie says, I'm unsure we can trust which one we're going to be talking to.
that is what you're here for.
But I can still see that his fate is enough intact to where he cannot lie.
All right.
Is that part of his fate?
Take it back. You were going to say something. I'm sorry. I had to butt in on that. I apologize. It was important.
Because I have Zone of Truth, but I think we don't need that here. If he asked me, I probably interacted with Pitt the least out of any of us. He never dominated me. I never got close to him. Isaac doesn't have anything. He's too busy dealing with Potjack.
That's
You
fair.
did good.
You did.
You did real good.
I didn't die.
You didn't die.
That's
And you
That's
helped,
considered doing
you
good.
helped protect others. You did.
Master Isaac, what about that vineyard incident?
Oh.
That's actually totally valid.
Oh, that was Pitt, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Isaac will say he doesn't have much, and then he goes, "Oh, that's good thought, Prongor." I did have a one-on-one conversation with him at one point when we were still in Bridgewalk.
June's eyes widen as she remembers that as well.
He lured me there under false pretenses, pretending to be someone else, and he had what was a surprisingly touching conversation with me. He didn't seem to have much ill intent. And Isaac will kind of go over what they discussed.
I see that expression on his face.
Touching?
Isaac will kind of go over what they talked about.
Then perhaps, if I might make a recommendation, I think you get some outside information using that eye trick of yours. And then I think you go in. You be the first one to contact him. If someone's going to talk, if he's going to talk to somebody, it will probably be you.
She'll clarify. You just want me to glance from a distance. You don't want me to. And she does the gesture she always uses when she's referring to like fiddling around inside somebody.
No. If you wanted to take something from him, I'd just cut it.
She looks a little disappointed. All right. I'm ready.
So Harper specifically said he's trying to figure out if Pitt is here on purpose.
Mm-hmm.
Did he say anything else he wants to know? Because that's a...
No.
Okay. That's a simple question. I just want to make sure.
Really, any information we can get out of him at all would be helpful.
All right.
He's going to suggest motive, point of failure, likelihood that Zara Khan will come aid him, the nightmare, if he has any allies out there that they need to know about, what he thinks going to happen now.
Okay.
All right. You
You see the heart?
roll a perception check.
She use her inspiration for advantage.
Yes.
Oh, goodness.
What was it? I can't see it.
A 2 and a 9. The 9 might...
You need at least a 15.
But is see the heart done with...
Perception?
Okay.
You should use guidance.
She already
Too
rolled.
late.
It's too late.
It's too late. All right. 17.
It's over 15.
Yep.
As you look into Pitt, you are going to see a man in complete collapse. He is on the verge of utter despair. It consumes him. He feels as though he failed because he wasn't able to do anything against Satan.
Does it look different to her than the time she looked at him before? Like qualitatively different, since they are kind of two different people in one person.
Yes. Before there was like a shadow that you were having to pierce into. Now the shadow is confined to a very small area of him. Rather, you see a depressed man. One whose most forethought is on how he failed Pitt.
How he failed his other half?
Yes.
Can she make any additional judgment about whether there are other plans afoot that she can see?
Maybe to slit his own wrists. If he gets the opportunity.
And is there anything she can see in that one concentrated bit of darkness?
No.
Okay. Anything else she can glean?
No.
She would convey that to the group.
So, Pitt, is the other, right?
Basically.
And then
Correct.
without Pitt, his name is
Piercy.
Piercy. Okay. And Piercy, both Piercy and Pitt have a fate that they share, right?
One is the manifestation of his fate.
Pitt is
part
the
of the
manifestation of his fate. Okay. And part of that fate is killing anyone who wears a crown or something along those lines, right? As a
Shatter
player,
the
I'm just
crown.
trying to... Okay.
Isn't it also the plague thing as part of it?
Yes.
And tell no lies.
Man, he's complicated.
So after you tell us all that, Isaac goes, man, he does look depressed, doesn't he?
I didn't anticipate, considering that Piercy's... I can't imagine Roland feeling that sense of loyalty to his typical other, and yet this Piercy does.
They are different people. And their bound are different.
Yes. I hadn't expected that at all.
All right, well, if that's all you're able to see, no point in waiting any longer. Isaac's going to, do the chamber doors just open, I'm assuming?
Harper pulls out a key and opens it up. Pitt's head doesn't rise.
Isaac will walk into the chamber and just kind of kneel down in front of him. Anything?
No.
He'll pull back his hood and kind of sit crisscross on the floor. Piercy, that is your name, right?
What is your name, Tiefling? Is it Isaac? Or Crowley? Or Crow?
Isaac.
Maybe today. Tell me about tomorrow.
I know that your failures are weighing heavily on you. Mine are weighing on me as well, he says. And he's going to kind of pull aside his robe to reveal his leg. I'm just in here to talk. I know that you could have avoided capture if you so wished. There's no reason for you to be in this dungeon. Why did you comply? Why did you come with them? There's a chance that you may never see daylight again.
I am spent.
You're spent. After that fight, you're done.
There is nothing left of me, sir. I am a ghost.
You don't think Pitt would come back? That Zotar would return to you?
His mouth is going to begin to hang.
I'm going to pretend like you said the right name.
What was it? What is the name?
It's not Zotar, I can tell you that.
Zosar.
Zosar.
No, it's not Zosar either.
Death? Zosar.
Zarakon.
Zarakon?
Yeah.
Okay.
I got a name.
Oh.
for it.
He
I thought you
said
were talking about
Zarakon.
I was like, it's not that. I can't remember what it is, but it's definitely not what you said.
Yeah, Sozar is the Dragon of Death, right?
No, Zosar is the Dragon of Death.
Yeah.
Yes.
Zosar. Okay. Yeah, he says Zarakon.
Okay.
His
Thought I'd
mouth is going to begin to hang a little slack. Looks like he's staring off into nothing. He doesn't respond to you.
Oh, baby, you're so floppy right now.
This man is a ghost, Isaac says, loud enough for you all to hear. Oh, he's trying to think of how we should approach this. Is this truly the first time you've failed at something? Failed at an assassination attempt?
He doesn't say anything.
Because this time around you tried to kill Satan. Is that not a failure you're willing to accept? If it was just some ordinary king, I would understand being so down about it, but to fail at killing Satan, I don't see why you're so angry.
It's just failed at killing an ordinary king like a little bit ago. Just saying.
He doesn't answer.
Well, if you don't wish to talk, what now then? Just sit in this cell and rot until the end of your days.
He doesn't answer.
You know, with the reputation preceding me, I'm not too many steps away from being in here alongside you. I think that I could work with you. We could figure something out. This failure doesn't have to define you.
And what are you defined by, Isaac? Death. Pain. Do you look in my eyes and see a mirror?
I look in your eyes and I see a man who's still trying to figure out who he is.
His face looks up at you, but it falls into Piercy's voice.
I'm
Not
trying to...
wrong.
What do you say? You're not wrong? Isaac throws his cloak back over his leg. I'm still trying to figure out who I am before it eats me alive, and I don't have that much time left.
Nothing.
I'll give you a moment. Isaac's gonna stand up and walk back out.
Anything, Finny asks? Whole lot of nothing.
He is as depressed as a man can be about his failures. It's almost impossible to get through to him.
And I could take it from him, but I really don't want to.
He seems to relate to me at least a little.
I don't know how you should feel about that.
He wouldn't be the first unsavory type who's looked to me for conversation, but with that failure behind him, he seems like he's trying to figure out what his point in life even is at this point.
Are you saying he's that depressed because he failed to kill Satan? Is that the only thing that did it?
He wouldn't be specific.
She's looking at you at this point now.
Oh.
But it was failure. And with that failure, he doesn't know what he has left. It seems like that was his sole purpose. And now he has none.
Why would this one set him back when he's failed in the past? Very recently, in fact.
In Bridgewalk.
Indeed.
He did.
The entirety of his plot was,
Boiled
yes,
by you.
us.
Isaac will go back in there. And ask him that.
He doesn't respond.
I figured. Okay. It's worth a shot. Want to be able to say that I did.
I wonder if we can stick guilt on him. Sorry.
I
Don't. The benefits of it would probably be really bad for
Yeah.
him. Don't do it.
yeah. He would immediately escape. If he
Well, I don't
cared
think
to.
he would. Honestly, I think we'd crush him to death if we did that, but still probably not a good idea right now. However funny it would be.
We can go in and yell at him. Euphemia would love to do that.
Piercy, tell me, is this all just to appease Pitt? Why do you care about this failure so much? Are his opinions really that... Do they really weigh that much on you?
He's going to look up. Piercy could be a handsome man. In a different light. In a different time. Tears are welling in his eyes as he looks up into yours. He's dying.
Pet.
He begins to rack with sobs.
Out of game, would Isaac know what happens if an other dies inside of somebody?
It
Okay,
shouldn't be
I figured.
possible considering it's fate.
Yeah.
But with fate behaving the way it is,
He's dying. How long does he have left?
He just shakes his head.
And would you not be happier without him?
You clearly gain the sense through the intensity of his sobbing
Yeah.
that is not the case.
It was a rhetorical question. Okay.
On that notion, we will go ahead and call the session Noble Heroes. Thank you for coming to join us. I really appreciate it. Please give us a like and a subscribe. Do try this at home.